Venice is one of the most iconic cities in the world due to its amazing canal system. Have you ever wondered why Venice has canals at all? And how the Venetians built a city unlike any other? I produced a video to answer those questions, and it's over on Nebula. It's a part of my Great Cities series, which so far has covered Paris's boulevards, the plan for Canberra, Shanghai's metro system, and New York's Central Park. New videos in the Great Cities series drop every month. They're longer and higher quality than the videos you'll find on YouTube, and ad-free. Sign up to Nebula so you don't miss any. How many people live in Venice? The official answer is 258,685 people. But for about 200,000 of them, home doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. To my eye, this looks like a normal Italian city, not the world-famous city crisscrossed by canals. That's because most Venetians don't live in the historic district in the center of the lagoon, but on the mainland. Here's the boundary for the full Comune of Venice. It includes the historic center right here, but it also includes many of the lagoon's islands and terra firma, or the mainland. Now you might be saying, so what? There are plenty of cities that have more people living on the periphery than in the historic center. And you would be right, but here are two reasons why I think Venice is different. First, at its height in the 1600s, the historic center of Venice used to be home to 200,000 people, vastly outnumbering the population of the surrounding areas. Today it's home to only 50,000 people. That's a massive difference, and that decline is not caused by suburbanization like in US cities. Second, almost nobody thinks about the parts of Venice outside of the historic center. I guess that most people don't realize that Venice exists outside of the lagoon. Let's rectify that situation and learn more about Greater Venice and how it transformed into a city primarily in the lagoon to one where primarily people live on the mainland after the bike belt. In its prime, Venice was the center of a maritime republic so wealthy that it built buildings like this and this. Venice surrendered to Napoleon in 1797 and became part of the newly formed country of Italy in 1861. Today, Italy is made up of 20 regions, kind of similar to US states or Canadian provinces. Venice is located in Veneto and serves as its capital. Venice is in the metropolitan area known as Patreve for Padua, Treviso, and Venice. Taken together, the metropolitan area has 2.7 million residents. The cities in the region are tightly connected. For example, there are about 100 trains per day between Padua and Venice. The trip takes 29 minutes on a regular train and half that on a high-speed train. Most of these trains from Padua end at Santa Lucia Station in Venice's historic center, but many also stop at Venice Mestra Station, which is just as important to the region's rail network. So in the context of northeastern Italy, historic Venice is definitely a focal point, but it's also just one small section of the larger city of Venice, which is only 10% of the greater Patreve metropolitan area. But like I said in the beginning of the video, it didn't always used to be that way. In the early 1900s, the majority of Venice's population still lived within the historic city. However, since the 50s, the local population of Venice has decreased by about 1,200 people per year. And Mestra's population has increased as more and more people who once lived in the historical city have chosen to move to the more affordable mainland. Residents are more likely to find non-tourism professions on the mainland, like in Marghera, which has a large industrial and shipping industry. Now, over 70% of those living in the metropolitan city of Venice live on the mainland, and only about 20% live in the historic city. Those who continue to live in Venice still often have to leave the island to do their day-to-day shopping in Mestra. What happened then? How did the Venice that we all know and love, the center of a maritime republic that was incredibly wealthy, come to be just a smaller, notable section of a larger region? Let's take a step back into history. Throughout its history, most of Venice's economy was based on trade, but Venice also made things. The island of Burano specialized in lace making. Murano became a center for producing fine glasswares. In the past century, that glassmaking industry has shrunk in size, mainly due to the fact that cheaper glass items like simple beads and bottles can be industrially produced elsewhere. As a result, only luxury glass products are produced in Murano today. Manufacturing doesn't happen much in Venice anymore, and its role as a trade hub has declined significantly. Beginning in the 20th century, the city put a great emphasis on the preservation of its historic architecture, art, and culture. Initially, this was great economically as it brought in lots of tourists who wanted to experience these amazing attractions. As more and more tourists visited every year, shop owners sold more and cheaper mass-produced souvenirs, diluting the artistry that historically went into prominent crafts and industries like glassmaking. Shopkeepers selling goods to locals just couldn't compete, eventually forcing them to move to the mainland or close entirely. And as those older shops closed, more stores catering to tourists took their place. The reorienting of the city for tourists had an inevitable result. more tourists. The maximum sustainable daily number of tourists in Venice is around 22,500 tourists per day. Yet in 2021, Venice saw up to 80,000 tourists per day in parts of the year. This number of tourists outnumbers locals by almost 2 to 1. Some even call Venice a short-term city, as a majority of its occupants are only passing through the area, soon to be replaced by other tourists. This places a lot of stress on the declining number of remaining locals, who reported extensive hours-long queue times for restaurants, museums, and public transit. It's not uncommon for tourists and locals to butt heads. All of these factors have caused a steep decline in resident comfort since the 1950s, particularly in the last several decades. Tourists, businesses catered to tourists, and the wealthy have inadvertently caused an increase in the cost of living within the historic city and a decreased quality of life due to insufficient everyday businesses like grocery or retail stores that are required to support locals. As tourism has flourished, many locals have been priced out of housing and have fewer opportunities for work. Landlords continue to significantly raise the cost of rent for locals. One article I found reported that a family lost their Venetian apartment after their landlord rose their monthly rent from €800 to €1,500. Social services claimed they couldn't do anything to help as there were too many other similar cases that were already being dealt with. Once locals are priced out of their apartments, landlords often transform rentals into Airbnbs, hostels, or B&Bs where they can make more money by catering to tourists. A not-so-fun fact is that Venice not only is unaffordable to low-income residents, but is increasingly unaffordable to middle-income residents as well. Even though rental costs across the lagoon are half of what they are in historic Venice, some Venetian locals want to keep their city as they know it alive by continuing to live there. Unfortunately, younger residents with less income are often the first to be priced out, leading to an older, aging population in a generally inaccessible city for the elderly and disabled. Many are worried that a large number of young adults leaving the city for housing and work on the mainland will deprive the city of a future social fabric with a variety of different types of skilled workers. The steep population decrease has had many worried about the future of the city. Is there any way to make Venice more attractive and affordable to locals? Urban planning efforts catering to tourists often don't follow the comprehensive urban plans for the city. Many worry that Venice may be past the point of being able to fix the city's growing problems. And critics of Venice's urban planning efforts have expressed a desire for more of a focus on resident well-being, sustainability, and resilience in both short and long-term city planning. But Venice has not yet balanced those goals with tourist-focused goals. As historic Venice becomes more overcrowded by tourists, Mestre is beginning to gain more tourists each year as a result, as it's perfectly positioned close to the historic city, has interesting historical locations of its own, and has more typical everyday businesses and shops that are lacking in historic Venice. Finally, there's the issue of when Venice will become not only a ghost town for locals, but for tourists as well. In 2021, UNESCO threatened to add Venice to its list of World Heritage Sites in danger, and Venice narrowly avoided being added to the list by banning cruise ships in the city center. The Venetian government has attempted to enact other policies to limit large numbers of tourists. They recently enacted a €3 to €10 fee for day trippers to the island, but they've yet to put an official limit on the number of people that are allowed to visit the historic city in a day. These efforts have saved the city from being placed on the danger list for now, but UNESCO expects additional efforts to protect Venice from over-tourism and population decline to be set in place for a deadline later this year. The growing dependence on tourism, the city's increasing vulnerability to population loss, and the effects of climate change beg the question of how long the city will remain attractive to humans, period. The reality is that historic Venice may not have a very long future, and it makes total sense for ordinary Venetians to vacate it. The fall of the Republic, the crush of tourists, and sea level rise all spelled disaster for historic Venice. By 2100, when someone says they're visiting Venice, they may not mean this, but instead this. If you want to learn more about Venice, not from 2100, but from, say, 1100 at the height of the Republic, I've got you covered. I made an in-depth look at the rise of Venice and how they built their impressive canal city. It's one of my favorite all-time videos, and you can check it out by signing up for Nebula. Nebula is creator-owned, meaning that when you watch a video over there, you're actually supporting this channel more than watching it here. And that gets you access to all of my exclusive content, and there's a lot of it, completely ad-free. That includes all the great city series, a bunch of short bonus videos, planning ancient Rome, and more. In addition, you have creators like Wendover Productions, Real Life Lore, and Real Engineering posting incredible exclusive content on Nebula. My entire family is hooked on Wendover's Jet Lag series, which is the best show if you like wholesome reality TV mixed with train travel, and that's me. And now if you sign up with my link, you get free access to Nebula classes, where our creators host classes on how to be, well, a creator. All these classes are taught by the folks here on Nebula. so you can learn how the Friday Checkout makes a video, or how Foreign tells stories, or how Patrick Willems makes movies. Your favorite creators teaching you how to create. Great for aspiring creators or folks who just love seeing behind the curtain. You can get all of my exclusive content, other creators' exclusive content, and Nebula classes for a big discount right now. You get 40% off our annual plans with my link. That comes out to $2.50 a month. It's the best deal in streaming. Go click on the link on screen and in the description to sign up and get 40% off.